Hello everybody and welcome to, hang on, yeah, you can see me now. Great, a bit of live chat here, Britain's Hidden History. Now, you will all, oh yeah, I was just checking the volume, yeah, take those headphones off, it does work. I was a shock, I forgot I had those on then. Right now, I think you all know Robert Pearce, we've yobbed up many a mountain between us, Mynydd Dinas and, what was it, Brokeback or something, I'm trying what it was called now, Rob, the other one we did. We've been up a few mountains anyway. And you recognise him, historian, researcher, and he's a specialist on some of these older books, which you're going to see in a moment. Now, Rob and I have lots of chats about Welsh history and British history and what's going on, and we thought it'd be a good idea to let's do them and record some, and that people joined in with their comments if there's people here. So let's make sure we can hear Rob. Hello, Rob.
Hello everyone.
Yeah, okay, we're just in the corner at the moment. We shall zoom this up to... All right.
I'm really nervous doing this.
Yeah, I should say, yeah, this is totally unrehearsed. I would say it's unprepared, really.
Yeah, it is totally unprepared. Yeah, you put me on the spot, you have.
I have put you completely on the spot, yeah, so go easy on Rob, okay? Because, well, me, but particularly Rob, because I sort of said, yeah, I'll just rig everything up. We'll just say what you're going to say. We'll have a chat, and we'll do it live. In front of, 8-9 million people or something like that around the world, you know? So, no pressure, Robert.
No pressure at all.
Right, try to remember, just to tell a little bit of background for people and give people a chance to log in, can you remember when we first got in touch with each other?
Yeah, I contacted you.
That's right.
Because I'd seen that you would do it, you're taking this Alan Wilson, Baron Blackett research and trying to do something with it, trying to get it out there, and I thought I'd got to meet this guy, so that's when I got in contact with him, tried for you to come and see the things that I'd been looking at in the Kymry and Maesteg area and the Port Talbot area and Mynydd Bean and all that kind of stuff.
That was it, because you live Kymry, isn't it? That was the particular. So I'm just checking the sound.
Yeah, Kymry.
Was the sound okay? I'm just. I think it is. If anyone's online, hello, people online. Sorry to interrupt you then, Rob. Just saying hello to Valerie and Manuel. If you just give us a quick thumbs up to say the sound's okay, because it's difficult for me to tell that a producer tonight. Sorry, yeah, because Kymry. Because what does Kymry mean?
Well, it literally means fortresses, and no one seems to know where or why the village was called Kymry. And it's only when all the trees were cut down that we started to see that there were things up there, and with the maps as well, it tallies up, and you've got names for these forts, these Pen Castle, Foel Pen Castle, Foel Fawr, and you've got this huge trench around the front, which you wouldn't have seen 15 years ago, completely covered by forest, and a big sort of television mast in the middle of it, and a burnt out car.
That's right. The historical burnt-out car. Yeah. So I remember we went up there. We met, and it was good. That was back when the world was normal. I think Arnie came, Tim, you, someone else as well. I think it was 4 of us, or 5 of us.
Hugh, I think.
Oh, that's right. We haven't seen much of Hugh lately, have we? Not Hugh Evans, the other Hugh. We got about 2 or 3 Hughs, but Hugh took us around Mynydd Bean, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah, but we got more to see up there, and we need to do another video when all this.
Yes, as soon as we're able,
thing dies down and we start getting back to normal, we'll have to go up there and show people what's there.
Yeah, because I showed a clip of what you did on one of the Sunday shows, and people are very interested. We just need to get a camera up there and have another crack at that one. So anyway, so you've been reading a few books again, Rob. Is that at least you spotted something?
Well, I've ordered 2 more books. One that you put me on to, but which I've tried to get hold of for years, called The Kymry. Mm-hmm. I heard about this book years ago, and I thought, how do I get hold of it? Because you can't seem to get access to it in any normal library, but it turns out you can get it online and you can read it as a PDF. And there's some really insightful things in that book and the other books, the other older books we've been looking at, that show a completely different history to this new Celtic idea.
Aha!
Of Wales.
The gorgeous, wonderful Alice.
Yeah.
Sorry, Professor Roberts.
Great programs and all that. You've got to wonder why the older theories on Welsh history or British history have changed. And Alan's been looking at this, and this is what we've been looking into. Was the difference? Why is there this change? Why are we now barbarian Celts with conveniently no information or very little information? Supposedly descended from Central Europe, and then you have this migration going out from Ireland to Turkey, everything being Celtic.
Just drifted over, yeah.
Just for some reason, from the centre of Europe, they've gone in all directions and gone from Turkey to Ireland. Around 500 BC, that was the original. In the 90s, that's what they were saying in the books that I was looking at.
Okay.
The TV programs, the Celtic culture just started around, so many thousand BC, and then 500 BC, they just migrate.
Yeah, I think they try and tie it in with Hallstatt and stuff, don't they? Which seems to be another one of these games they play where you find an item in one place and then you just name the whole civilization after it.
Yeah.
Even if it's just one piece, and it could be hundreds of pieces somewhere else. It's a very strange way of doing things.
Yeah. So, but the way they describe it is the civilization starts in the alpine regions. Yes. Then, like you say, southern France,
or something like that. Yeah.
Hallstatt, southern Germany, Austria, and then this unexplained migration everywhere. And that always made me question, why would this culture just suddenly spread? And is Celticism just this blanket term we put across a lot of different cultures and civilizations at that time? And then you've got P-Celtic and Q-Celtic, the linguistic thing. The Welsh, the Cornish, and the Bretons. And then you've got the Gaels with the Irish, the Scots, and the Manx.
Yeah, just call them all Celts, yeah.
Two branches of Celtic. And instead of finding out who these people actually were, they're just some branches of Celticism.
Well, I think it seems to be like a language connection where they work backwards, isn't it? So you got Breton, Cornish, Welsh seem quite similar, and then Irish or Gaelic and some sort of Scots language seems quite similar. Yeah. So we'll call one A and one B, and then just label the whole people as well. They no thought which way anything's gone or why it's happened or anything really.
Yeah, and it's only when we got turned on to this research, then the Wilson and Blackett stuff, that you start to see a different idea. And then, so looking at these books like the Kymry and things from 100 years, the Cymrodorian Society from like the 19th century, yes. What they were saying about the Welsh and the Kymry.
I think the Welsh gentleman who met in London, wasn't it? Is that the ones?
Yeah.
And they were all like lawyers and barristers.
Yeah,
and they were
this
very
is a really
people, weren't they?
This is a really high-end society that was trying to keep this ancient knowledge alive of what had gone on before. And this is in contrast to Celticism. So you've got to wonder what's going on.
I like that word, Celticism.
Celticism, yeah.
I think you've just coined that phrase.
I don't know. I think I've seen it somewhere. But you see then with the book, the Kymry, then that they are descended from the Cimmerians. Now, this wasn't something invented by Wilson and Blackett, like you said before. We've got reference to this link 150 years ago. So you've got to wonder there's been a shift somewhere, hasn't there? And then you've got the Cambria triumphans, which we've gone into as well. And I've read most of this book now, and I've highlighted lots of stuff. But like I say, the main narrative is, the story of Wales and all these books, Celtic mythology.
Oh, bit slower, Rob. Bit slower.
History of Wales.
So who? Can we just say who these are a second? Go a bit slower.
Sorry. History of Wales. Graham Jones.
I don't know that one. No. Okay.
The Story of Wales. Hugh Edwards.
Oh, we all know Hugh Edwards. Yes.
I think he did the introduction to this one.
I think if I talk like this, I get paid £250,000 a year for reading off a piece of paper. So I'm going to work on my accent a bit, Rob.
Well, it's a really good program. In fairness, it just we're not taught.
We're not just Wales aren't in it.
Well, it's the sort of the Dark Age stuff that is just. Absolutely. They don't seem to go there very much, and this is the problem. Let's
just talk about that account a second. I mean, I admit I haven't watched the Hugh Edwards series in detail or read the book, so I might be commenting a little bit out of turn. But just skimming through, I get the impression that we sort of starts Neolithic, I think is the term they use, or
Yeah,
prehistoric,
that's right.
and then bump, 20 pages later we're in mines and misery sort of thing.
Yes, yeah. Like I say, it starts sort of 10,000 years BC, and then, like I say, Neolithic culture, and then Celtic culture. And it, like I say, it jumps to Romans,
Oh, I forgot the Romans.
to
Sorry,
Normans.
Yeah.
They do touch a little bit on the heroic age, like we said, but it's not. It's generally regarded as a mythological
Legends.
era, legendary. And yet you've got books like Cambria triumphans, which we've had
nice and slow, Rob. The camera's stalling a bit. Yeah, that's Percy Enderbie's book, isn't it?
Percy Enderbie's book,
1661, I think that one, isn't it?
Yeah, 1661, which tell of the noble race of, or the British being descended from the noble race of the Trojans, which is Anatolia, which is not Celtic Europe. So you've got to wonder why is this been, well, all this history from the last few hundred years have they literally gone, forget that.
Yeah.
We're all Celts.
It's all illegal, yeah. Do you have a look at, have you had a look at Alice Roberts' book?
The book?
The Alice Roberts one you just showed then. Have you had a chance to watch that? Or is it a programme or a book or something?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, I've
as
actually
lovely
seen
as Alice is, I haven't seen all her work.
Yeah, I mean, they're very well made programs, but
Yes.
but I suppose the frustration for you and for me and for people looking into this older stuff is that there's they don't mention it at all.
Yeah. I was just going to say hello to a few people a second.
Believe.
Sorry, Rob, just give me one sec. Hello, let's just say hello. Thanks you people logging on. Just thank you very much. Please keep the comments coming. Valerie, I don't know Valerie, so that's excellent. Welcome aboard. I hope you enjoy the show. Tell us about a great granny there. Okay. Andrew Whelan. Oh, Chris Woods. Good to see you, Chris. Mandy McCourt, my arch researcher, sends me tons of stuff. There'll be a lot more things on Sunday. Andrew Whelan's mentioned Terry Breverton. Funny enough, I came across Terry Breverton for the first time this week. I don't know where I saw it or who told me about it, but he does write lots of self-published history books, and I think a lot of it's about the heroic era. It looks a bit mainstream on the surface, you know, it's O England doer and all these kind of things, but he does carry a lot more. Yeah, Valerie, if we can stick to the British history, that would be great, okay? Right, so sorry, Rob, I just had to say hello to a few people. Oh yeah, I got more and more people logging on all the time.
Yeah,
Word is spread that you're available on screen. Right, sorry, I was talking about...
pressure.
I was very, very rude then. So we were talking about Professor Roberts, as I should call the gorgeous Alice, and let's see what she's been up to. So can you tell us a bit more about her book then, or was it a DVD or a book? I couldn't tell.
Well, it's the usual narrative, you know, the Celtic narrative of barbarism and druids and all that kind of stuff, ritual sacrifice. You know, this is the general narrative, but what we're looking into is the books that were written 100 years ago that says something completely different. So like you've got, or before I go,
does she mention what we would call the Dark Ages at all? Then I mean the heroic era.
They describe as just that, the Dark Ages.
She does mention it then.
He does mention it. It's, you know, fairy tales and myths and legends, and there may be nuggets of truth to it, but you know, essentially they won't look at it seriously.
It's strange, isn't it? Because the amount of things they do cover, which have hardly any documentation, are treated so seriously. I mean, one of my favourites I always like to talk about is Alfred the Great, you know, supposedly burnt the cakes and all that. There's hardly any mention of him anywhere. There's one main piece supposedly written by him himself. Yeah. But that no one ever questions that. No one says, well, are you sure Alfred ever existed? Are you sure he's real?
I didn't realise that. I thought that...
Yeah, you'd swear he was...
I thought he'd be copiously recorded and...
Well, all these Saxon kings, there's very little evidence, really, to support any of it. But that doesn't come across. If the same test of evidence was applied to both sides, you either have to include all or neither. Because there's probably more to support the British ones, really.
Yeah. So to my mind, you've got the migration that Alan Wilson talks about. It seems to make logical sense because you've got the Cimmerians in Anatolia. You've got the Welsh and the British always claiming the descent from that area.
Yes, yes.
And yet we are...
And where did those people go?
Where did they go? And
if they didn't come to Britain, where did they go? Yes.
How are we now European Celts that migrated and were barbarous? And we've got these old histories that say we are a nation of illustrious kings and princes and Trojan descent and Brutus, and all that stuff has just been abandoned. And
you've got to wonder why. I'm trying to read the messages as well, because welcome aboard Manuel Garcia. That's a good Spanish name. He's saying there's another. He's called it a Celtic connection. What we're going through, Manuel, is to show. We'll come on to this a bit more detail. That there's no Celts. All right, the Celts are in the south of France or North Italy. They're not part of Britain. And as far as I know, that northwest of Spain, Galicia is not Celtic either. It's been labelled as that. And this is what we get to the grips with. And there certainly does seem to be a connection between the language and that area with Britain. And I'd be interested to look more about that, but it's not actually a Celtic connection as such, is it? So Rob's at disadvantage here, because the way the broadcasting works, you can't see anything. Rob's just talking to a camera. You might be able to see a little bit of me in the corner.
I can see you.
You can see you. Oh, you can't see me. Oh, that's right then.
Yeah.
And you've got some. I'll just let people know. I think you've got some things to share with us as well at some point, haven't you?
Yeah, well, just some books.
Okay. Well, you just go through. Sorry, I keep interrupting, but carry on. Yes.
Well, I was going to say another one of the mainstream books. I had this for Christmas a few years ago by John Davis, A History of Wales.
Very thoughtful, yes.
If you've seen this one, it's like holding the whole of Wales in one hand, and it is a very comprehensive book. But as you can see by where I bookmarked,
right, go on, yeah.
As if you can see that.
Yeah. Hold it still, yes, yeah.
This portion of the book, which is about 20 pages, 30 pages.
Right, yes.
Is the history of Wales right up until 1066.
Amazing, isn't it? And I bet half of that is what they call prehistoric or Neolithic as well.
Yeah. There's one section which one paragraph, which I've picked out. Of Arthur's line. So he's acknowledging that there possibly may have been a King Arthur from Glamorgan and Gwent.
Oh, he does get a mention at least, right? Okay.
Gets a mention, but it doesn't really allude to him being that person. We've got Morgan ap Arthruis, who dies in 665. That would be the son of King Arthur. And it says there's little definite evidence concerning the origins of the kings of Glywysing, although it is claimed that Magnus Maximus lurks somewhere in their pedigree. And that's more or less it.
Well, this is a grudging thing, isn't it?
It's almost something they've got to skip over. Get that out of the way.
Yeah, they still passing mention it, don't they? This is the funny thing. Hello, Monica as well. Yeah. The Greeks probably misnamed the folks as Romans, Celts, and Greeks. Quite possibly. They didn't refer to the British, but I'll challenge anybody. I've been laying out this challenge for about a year and a half now. If you can find any reference before around about 1700 to the Britons being called Celts or Celtic, or the Celts being in Britain, well done you, let me know, because everyone's always amazed when they look. No, the Greeks or the Romans, they never referred to Britain as that. No one did. It is a new idea, and yet this has just become more pervasive now, hasn't it?
Yeah, so that was quite frustrating. I was looking forward to reading this and realised that, the section I was interested in was only...
Yeah.
Not even a tenth of the book. and that's similar with all these books you look for in the library on the history of Wales or whatever, or the Celts. They tell the same story. They skip along, and you get to the North Wales princes, 11, 12, and... Yeah.
And all that,
and then that's where the flesh of the books really is. The meaty aspect is the last 1,000 years, not before.
Well, it's worse than that. It's kind of all after Edward the First, really, isn't it? It's after Wales is supposedly conquered, and even that's a bit of a myth when you look closer into it, because what he really did was conquer Snowdonia, the North Wales area. There's the other thing which is I'd noticed. I asked people go look on YouTube videos or books or anything. That what fascinates me is it shows how the political map of Britain has changed over hundreds of years, and you'll see like Wessex growing and Mercia shrinking and growing and Northumbria shaking and growing, and there's like this black hole in the bottom corner of Wales, and it literally is black on some maps. It's not even named.
Yeah.
And you think, well, why didn't no one ever take it or go in it or do anything to it? It must have been pretty tough because that's where all the loads of resources are there, your metals and coals, and yet no one actually claims to have taken it. No one does. The Mercians, Wessex, Saxons, Angles, no one claims to have taken it.
Yeah.
So what was going on there? It's bizarre that it's written out.
And that shows what a powerful place it was, right from before the Roman invasion. They had real trouble trying to get into this area. And you've got the heroic age then, which you're talking about, the line of Arthur in Glamorgan and Glywysing and Gwent, being descended from the very same people a few hundred years earlier.
All the way back to 500 BC, yeah.
Yeah, and it comes then to the Fortress Glamorgan thing that you've been talking about as well.
And I'm back to another video on that as well, yes.
This kingdom really was set up to be almost impenetrable because they'd had centuries of people trying to get in and wrestle their way in, and it was the graveyard of a lot of armies.
Yeah, I should put some graphics up. I haven't quite got them ready yet, but I mean, hang on. But I've got this, excuse the fact it says Ross's copy all written all over it. It's to stop me when someone buys a copy. I don't actually send one out that I've scribbled all over, so I have to deface my own books just to avoid that. But this Arturius Rex is a great place to look for this because you'll find in here lots of maps about how South Wales is arranged. Hang on a second, so you can see. He goes through in great detail, which I'm just going to be rehashing Wilson and Blackett's work. Nothing I knew I've discovered. Well, actually, there are a couple of little tiny additions. And you have this system, don't you? Which is what we started first talking about, wasn't it, really, with going to Monadinas and that. You have a kind of wheel and spokes idea. We'll have a central point.
Yeah.
So in Gwent area, it might be Caerleon, or actually Lodge Hill. not the Roman Caerleon, but up on the hill, Camelot, or whatever the name was for that. And then castles running off in all different directions, all mutually supporting, all able to see each other. And then a similar thing on the south coast, similar thing in Glamorgan, then further west, and then we get up towards you then, isn't it? Because is that...
Yeah.
How does Kymry fit into that? Did you remember how that one works? Because that's to do with the Owen, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you've got the Monadinas on the Port Talbot, which is only 5-6 miles away, really, down the Avon Valley.
Right, okay.
It's like, as you said, you forget how close you are to the sea because you're in.
Yeah, it doesn't
you're
feel
surrounded
like
by mountains.
It doesn't feel like it. I go up a couple of miles away to go up the Garth, and I can see the sea. It's bizarre. I don't feel like I'm in a seaside area.
Yeah. Like I live in the valleys, and I'm literally 20 minutes from the beach.
Yeah, me too. Yes.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But you can see how the mountains were literally sculpted to suit their needs. So you've got Monadinas being this main fort. It was probably a very early fort, and they've spread inland up the Avon Valley, building smaller ones. You got ones in Kymry, and they link up to Bridgend and the Rhondda, and you can see how the Lord of the Rings thing got its inspiration was from this signaling technique.
So there's someone here called Lords of Avon. He's in Neath, but he's from the Avon Valley. So welcome aboard. You got a long way from home to go all the way from the Avon Valley to Neath. What's it like living abroad?
Yeah.
So it's turned a bit onto
so you can see how they link up, and you can see how the system works, like you said. So it's the odd one out because it's the one on the coast, the big one, and the smaller forts go inland. Whereas the other fort systems seem to be inland, and they stretching out, looking at the coastal forts, or signalling inward.
See, what's bizarre to me is that you can still see the castles, or at least where they were. You can see the remains. You can see battlements and that. They're a bit different to the sort of those big castles they dump in the middle of a town to persecute the people or suppress them. These were defensive refuges and lookout points.
Yeah.
But they're there. You can still see them, and it just seems so weird to me that things like the Welsh Tourist Board and that just don't mention them. You go on Cadw's website, you'll see Norman castles and Roman places like Geltligay is mostly Roman, things like that. But you won't see these things mentioned. It's very one of the things I like to ask people to do, I've mentioned this before, is Mandy McCourt put me onto this, so I'm glad Mandy's watching, is that at the moment, I have noticed the last couple of times I've been to one of my favourite castles, which is Coity Castle, which is in Bridgend, or Pencoed, it's sort of just on the edge of Bridgend. It's a wonderful castle because it's got an amazing story behind it, and the castle clearly predates the Normans, and there are stories about the Norman army. Well, we won't go through the whole thing, but when South Wales was taken, one of the knights missed out, and he was told to go and grab his own bits. So he turns up with an army, and the owner of the castle comes out, daughter in one hand, sword in the other, and says, "Do you want the sword or to marry?" So they married in. I think it was the Turbervilles. I'm trying to remember the name of the family. And so you can see, and I shot some video a couple of years ago. I was with a stonemason, and you could see there, or the stonemason point out to me, the different styles. You can see the different styles of stonework, and you got the traditional Norman arches on the windows, like pointy ones, and it's different. Anyway, that was the great thing about it, because but even back then, you couldn't get in there because it's all fenced off. And Mandy's found out the reason is they're restoring it. And those words, restore, always kind of scare me a little bit. Because I'm like, so if anyone's near there, can you please take as much films and photos as possible, and to see what is going on there, if people know.
Yeah. And like you say, you've got that story where rather than the Normans hacking their way through the land, they're marrying into the nobility of the kings of Glamorgan.
Mm-hmm. And there's lots of historical accounts, even in these mainstream books, of this fighting going on with the Welsh, to the 1200s, 1300s, 1400s, because Kidwelly was a kind of border, it seems. So you got places like Coity Castle, almost like a neutral zone, where you got the last Norman castle one side, and it's all Welsh the other side.
Yeah.
And it's really important castle, that one.
Yeah, you've got Welshries and Englishries then later on, where the Welsh were more or less in the hinterland, and the Normans took the coastal plain.
Yes.
Of Glamorgan and stuff. But
have you got some bits you want to show? Sorry, what did you go on? Carry on, yeah.
Well, I was going to show as well the story of the Turk Troith.
Oh yes.
The boar hunt in the Mabinogi story, and how in Alan Wilson's work he's saying that obviously, King Arthur wouldn't be fighting a couple of pigs, and his sons wouldn't be killed by piglets. So it was quite obviously an army of some kind.
Yeah, they wouldn't just trash a whole country as well, would they? Matter how big the pig was.
Yeah. So you have the boar. I mean, the symbol of the boar. Alan was saying that was revered by the Germanic tribes, be it Vandal or Saxon or whatever. The white horse, the boar, on their shields and things, and the helmets. So you have this menace coming into Britain from Ireland, and it's in Cambria triumphans, which is surprising, the 1661. And we've got an account of the king called Germund.
Right, okay.
And it basically says that he came hither via Ireland from Africa.
Well, that's in there as well, is it?
So the only people in Africa in the early 6th century that vanished in the middle of the 6th century were the Vandals. So they went somewhere. They sail out of the history books.
They do. These were about 488 or something. They got kicked out of Carthage, something like that.
Yeah. So you have this vast army. I mean, this is where it'd be interesting to see what Irish ancient history can turn up in terms of this great army and turning up in Ireland, and then. And
as Marshall said, quite often they leave pockets of populations behind. People who are too old to travel, or don't want to travel, or something like that. Yeah,
but obviously this Germund, whether he'd taken a large chunk of Southern Ireland and he proclaimed himself king, I don't know. But in the early, in the Mabinogi, it talks about Arthur going over there, being outwitted, and
Yes.
this is where the boar hunt comes then through the southern part of Wales.
Yes. I think the story, like you said, as Alan Wilson pointed out, is that they've moved to North Africa after rampaging through Italy. They've gone to North Africa. They're quite happy there, but finally, an army is raised in Constantinople to come and kick them out. And they timed it for when the Vandals were away. They were away raiding Sicily, I think.
That's right.
So their main army in the fleet wasn't there. So they, being good old Romans, they destroyed the city completely and trying to wipe out the women and the children who were left to defend the place. And then when the fleets come back, picked up survivors in the main army, and they'd gone off to find pastures new. And like you said, they just disappeared from history. And there's stories that became Berbers and stuff, but none of that matches. Especially if they would have been Europeans. They wouldn't have had dark skins like Berbers or anything.
Yeah.
And this was through the gates of Hercules, isn't it? Which is Gibraltar, and then Ireland. And Arthur's gone off to get them, but they come sort of sidestepped him at that point.
And they've sidestepped them, and they've outwitted him, and they've come and landed on the west of Wales and rampaged through. And this is the story of the Troith, the boar hunt.
Yeah, because the boars on their shields and those banners they carried and things.
Arthur's son getting killed in the fighting, or maybe more than one son, and eventually being driven out. Probably took a long time, a very costly war, and eventually they pushed out over the Severn, which is precisely the place where the Mercians start emerging. So you have this whole Mercian kingdom then emerging in the early 7th century.
That's one of the things I like about it, is where do the Mercians come from otherwise?
Yeah, and within 100 years, have you seen the map of Mercia? It goes from Wales to the Wash, to the Humber, right down to London. It's a huge, massive kingdom.
How could they where do they come from, isn't it? Because they, it makes some sense that the Angles would be on the east coast, or possibly Northumbria, wherever it happens to be, and the Saxons on the east coast. But the Mercians don't. They start almost in the middle. It's almost inland they start. So where's their bridgehead? Where do they come in from?
And this ties in with the Cambria triumphans account of Gurmund coming from Africa via Ireland, destroying Britain, and they seem to be the Vandals who have come from Africa, because it says he came from Africa, and his name is Gurmund.
Bit of a clue there, wasn't it?
And Gurmund, to me, seems a more Germanic name. And
yeah, because I think in one of the books, Alan Wilson did actually give a list of the early Mercian kings, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think he goes back. Apparently, you can trace them back to, is it Gelimer and Gaiseric?
Gunnaric and things like that, isn't it? I don't think it's in this book. I'll have to get one of the other ones out.
Yeah,
because you can see there in the list they're all very Germanic names, but also it does. It's not in this one, I don't think. But it does tie in with the names matching with the Vandals.
Yeah,
and where else did they come from?
In the succeeding years, then you have them allying with the Saxons. It says, who with the Saxons were the utter destruction of the Britons, and pushed them back over the Severn. So this seems to be the period where, people like Cadwallader were holding on being the last British kings. Yeah. And then,
because even people like Bede talk about, he complains that the British didn't convert them to Christianity, isn't it? And you think, well, if the Mercians were Angles or Saxons, why aren't you talking to them?
Yeah.
Why are you asking the British to do it? What are your lot? They clearly can't be Angles or Saxons, I'd have thought.
They can't be. And they can't be because you've got switching of allegiances between the Britons, the Saxons, the Mercians, and the Angles. In some accounts, straight after this invasion, you've got the Mercians allying with Saxons. Later on, you've got Mercians allying with Britons against Saxons. And you've got Mercians fighting against Angles.
Yes.
They have to be a distinct group in central Britain. This is what we're trying to look into.
It's very hard to make it work any other way, isn't it?
Yeah. And of course, then you've got the other, like people like Marcella doing with the Lloegrian story and trying to bring that out and show the Lloegrian kings and what they their achievements, because there's much to be done there, really. Because I know we tend to be focusing in the Welsh story, because it seems to be the.
Well, I try not to. It just seems we got more information and there's a better story in it in many ways. But we don't want to make it a Welsh thing. It's a British thing.
Oh no,
yeah,
that's it. It's really we're the custodians of that ancient culture as well, from Lloegria.
Yeah.
So, English people's history is Welsh history, as is their history as well.
Well, as I often say, I think the English have lost more than anybody, because most English are just totally unaware that they've got any of this history. At least Welsh people are kind of aware. They might not agree with it, or they might dismiss it as legends and myths, but at least it's something. In England, most don't even have it as myths or legends or anything. They just assume the Anglo-Saxons drove everyone, like a sheepdog driving sheep, and pushed them all into Wales. But there's no sign of any migration into Wales. The people didn't move. The government might have moved, the kings might have changed, but the people didn't actually move.
And yet you have accounts then of people like King Lear.
Yes, yeah.
Which became King Lear of Shakespeare.
Yeah, and Coyle and all those kind of people.
Cordelia and all these people, they are in this book. And these kings go to 500 BC, which I found incredible, really.
Yeah, Shakespeare writes about them, doesn't he?
Instead of the Roman invasion being the start of everything, you've got these old kings going back to 500 years before with pretty detailed accounts, some of them. So you have to question it, surely.
Yeah. What was the stuff you wanted to share then, Rob? You had something to share, I think.
Oh, I don't know.
I think I'm going to screen share something. Have we practiced a screen sharing thing?
Sorry. This is technological now.
Technological. Do you want me to fill in? Can I just talk? I'll just say hello. I'll just go to me a second. You can play off camera, right? And I'm just going to have a quick talk to... let's read some of the comments. Okay. Right. If you Google Welsh ship burials, nothing will come up. Andrew Whelan. Yeah, we like Andrew's comments. I tell you what, to look forward to everybody who's watching this. You're still on screen, aren't you? I'm supposed to take you off screen.
I don't know. All I can
save your embarrassment. You are off screen now. Yeah, it's just got a bit. I must have a lag over there.
I can just see the text. That's all I can see.
How is it you're still on? Yeah, there we are. It's back over to just me now for a second. I've changed camera. I tell you what, I have no idea how complicated this all gets with different cameras, and we can see you a bit. No, we can't see you at all. Good. Right. Give me a wave when you're ready, Rob. One of the things which you have to look out for, hopefully starting next Tuesday, and I'm going to try and make it the same time every day. I'm sorting out with Bob Morgan. Yeah. So we got Rob tonight, all right, and Sunday evening. Rob Bevans, who I'm going to call Bobby, and he doesn't like being called Bobby, and I apologise for that. But otherwise, we got Rob today, Rob Pearce, Rob Bevans on Sunday, because he's just done some amazing work. It's mind-blowing, and it's going back to the ancient, finding ancient traces, right back to Babylonian times, and he's worked out the whole area, and he's done the hard work. It's taken him years and years and years walking around these sites, plotting them on maps. But what I'm picking up on, Andrew Whelan there mentioned about ship burials, is Bob Morgan, the one we call Gandalf, although he shaved his beard off. He's really got a bee in his bonnet now about this Sutton Hoo thing, and he's done a load of research. And my goodness, he's gone all the way back to looking at the records from 1939 when they first found it, and he's going through old Basil's records, and Basil Brown, the first person there, and then looking at different archaeologists and what they did over the years and how their positions changed on what was there, and how these the items have been kind of recreated in Saxon form. I tell you, the more you look into it, it's phenomenal. And there's stuff in the burial mounds I never even knew existed. So a lot more about that. We could do a little series of bite-sized ones. We got Rob and Bob.
Rob's everywhere.
Robs are everywhere, taking over the world. Well, the funny thing was, we used to have 3 Hughs as well, and the group was becoming Rob Hugh. Like Rob. Oh, never mind. Anyway, so that's as good as it gets. Andrew Whelan, never forget the Night of the Long Knives. Yeah, I got in trouble talking about that the other day. Cause, yeah.
Why is that?
Well, not in a really bad way, just that... there was a discussion going on one of the Anglo-Saxon groups. I'll go back to sharing again, but I have to be careful now. I was going to share my controls of how I make all this work. Oh, what have I done? I was on Skype, innit? That's right. Where's the small child to do the production for me? This is just so difficult. Where are my children? It's a Friday evening. I couldn't blackmail them into it. Well, no, they were discussing where does the name Stonehenge comes from. And, of course, come on, I expect to see Rob appear on screen any second.
Hello, yeah.
Hello, yeah, you can hear you and everything. Otherwise...
I can see you.
Yeah. You should appear in a second, I think. Hang on. Yes, there it is. Phew. Right, and so, of course, the word henge seems to derive from to hang. And this is where it gets confusing, because Stonehenge, I've forgotten the Welsh name for the site. It's not called Stonehenge, of course. That's a sort of Germanic or Saxon name. And the story is that after the treachery of the Long Knives, the bodies of the British nobles were strung up from Stonehenge as an outrageous act of sacrilege and to display the bodies. And now, as we read from Wilson of Blackett, the bodies and the conference was held at Money the Gare. I mean, the only way I can tie the two together is to imagine they must have gone and collected the bodies and brought them back for a proper burial. The whole thing's quite gruesome. But when I mentioned I had to drop in a thing saying now there was this peace conference organised and everyone's unarmed, and at an agreed signal the concealed weapons were brought and they stabbed their opposite numbers. And almost 400 British nobles were stabbed, and that's where the expression "never trust an Englishman" comes from, or "never trust a Saxon." And it didn't go down very well, but it's a long time ago. But I mean, that's the story, isn't it? You know, don't want to get into more trouble. Yeah, thanks, Andrew. I think I'm well into it already. I'm so deep in trouble I can't see out anymore, so I just will keep paddling. Hey, sorry, Rob. Have you got your screen share ready?
Well, I've got the.
Come on,
you
can do it. Never considered attempting to convert them to Christianity. Yeah, I don't know who was at the Long Knives, because Rob knows this better than I do. This is where you're good at. When did the Vandals join up? Because say for Baden there was a massive force, wasn't there?
Yeah, it seems to be more of a confederation, the Baden battle, because that's the culmination of a lot of his battles. There's 12 famous battles, and they seem to culminate at Money of Baden. Now, it makes you think, well, was there an alliance with Saxons, Angles, Mercians, Vandals for this do-or-die attack on Arthur's kingdom? And then you've got this huge battle, and we've been there with the trenches and the fort. It's really, it's a massive area.
Yeah, and you can still see the signs of the battle. It must have been a dreadful struggle, because those armies are very large, weren't they?
Yeah. But you've got mentions to all this in these old books. You've got mentions to Arthur, and if I'm trying to screen share there, I've got the, the page up.
This is where we practice this, Rob. We could do this.
I know. Is it up now? It's on my screen.
No, I'm just getting you at the moment.
All right.
I've got the raise hand button here. I'm sure this has been set up for my children's online schooling. I've got things like wave hand, react, or I can give you a thumbs up or something as well. Come on, Rob, you can do it. Share screen, and then you get options, don't you? And one of them is going to be desktop. No, that's me. You've got me again. Ah!
There we are.
No, I don't want me. That's it. Yeah. Yes. I can relax again now. Right. By John Jones Thomas. Do you know? I don't know about me. I'm starting to get suspicious about the names on some of these books. I think they're a bit anonymous. Every one seems to be written by someone called Jones or Morgan. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
I wonder. This is John Jones Thomas. You know, perhaps you need to have proper Welsh names. I need to rename myself. Oh.
You've got this society, this Cymrodorian society, who were trying to keep alive this very ancient history.
And there's the Alwyn at the top, yeah.
And when they
this is why I do my dragon thing. It's supposed to be that Alwyn is the idea. Yeah.
The Alwyn sign, yeah. But I just wanted to show that if you look on...
that says Melbourne, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's Melbourne, So I think it sort of moves around. It can be in New York. I've seen one. I think with the Cambrian Journal or some of the other books. So it's not only London that where
Right,
this was
okay.
happening. And you've got the Cimmerians and the Kymry being connected. And this is well over 100 years ago.
Yes.
So Alan Wilson isn't making this stuff up.
Yeah,
I mean, if the Cimmerians are the Kymry and they come out of Assyria, are they the 10 tribes? Because they on the big clay tablets known as the 10 tribes, and later on they get known as the Cimmerians.
They always claim to be it, haven't they?
And we've got the British claiming descent from that place in time and that area. Mm-hmm. And they vanish out of history, just like the Vandals. The Cimmerians just gone.
Yeah, they don't crop up anywhere else, do they?
Yes, it makes you wonder. So I ordered this book. I haven't read the PDF version, even though you can flick through it. But
no, you have to get your highlighters out, don't you? You make your notes and everything.
Yes, I like to feel the paper, feel the book.
Feel the hundreds of years of history in this reprint from India.
Yeah. But you flick over, and all I can see is Cimmerians, you know.
Oh, hang on, what's that there? Is that Cleven? It's found in the Cymry and Lloegrians on the left-hand page, point 5, point V.
Oh, yeah.
What's this? Down slightly, Cymerian, yeah, so we got...
Yeah, the Cimmerian, Clevi.
And Clevive. Oh, there we go. From cleathers to rest and sheltering, and possibly from internment. Is that right? Oh, well, they're imprisoned or captured or something.
Yeah. And with the ancient, with this, you know, with the older stuff and with the Cambria triumphans as well, you get in links to the Greeks, and the Greeks conversing with British Druidism. And there's a king in here called King Bladud. I think he was the father of King Lear. Bladud. I know, not Bladud as in
a bit of a drinking issue, did he? Permanently bladdered, or...
But
it talks about bladdered, surely.
Yeah, it talks about him going to Athens and bringing much great knowledge back to Britain.
Yeah, well, I've heard a lot of stories as well where they the other way around as well, wasn't it? A lot of the centre of learning was in Britain, and people come from even India. You got some of the old Sanskrit things they talk about coming to Britain for knowledge. And I know that's Richard Davis, you know, my Druid friend, he was talking about learning about vegetables, the fact that in South Wales you can forage for almost everything. You know, there's lots of wild stuff you can eat, which I'd be pretty thin, but it is all there. You put me back on, Rob. What are you doing?
It's all right. I'll put it back.
Yeah. Why'd you do that? Go on,
But but in these books, you know, the Kymry, this book, Britannia, Antiquissima, Divi, Britannici, the Cambrian Journal, they all talk about these linguistic and cultural links going back to the Middle East and beyond, not Central Europe, not with the Celts.
Yeah. Well, this is one of the things it brings home to me as well is that you know, they had to fund the writing of these books, and it's one of the things Wilson and Blackett mentioned how difficult it was. You could raise £10 for every £1 raised for British history. You could raise at least 10 for Greek or Roman history. People have this weird fetish with Greek and Roman history and no interest in British history, which is very strange. But also what is brought home to me is that these books were so important. If they hadn't made the effort to write these books, even though they've been largely ignored, at least it gives us something, doesn't it? You know, it gives us some starting point. Like we're doing now, it's something to turn to, isn't it?
Yeah. I've actually got to a paragraph now on this one. Can you still see me, or...?
I can just see the book at the moment. If you want to come off screen share.
Oh, come off there. Sorry.
I have a good read. It's a bit small, but...
How's that?
No, it's back to me. Now click off the screen share button. Right a bit, that's it. Yeah. Stop sharing. See?
Yeah,
you were showing something on the screen. No, we didn't see any of that. No, we didn't. Go on. Hold it up again. Go on. You've been...
Yeah, but I've highlighted again. and it says, proof the Celts dwelt not in Britain, but Europe between France, Spain, and Italy, which is what you were saying.
Right, well, I've read from Wilson of Blackett and checked, yes. So what are they saying? This book is like 1850 odd or something.
No, this one is 1661.
Oh, so even in there it says they're not Celts.
Yeah, in Percy Enderbie's History of
Britain. I should have seen that, yes.
You've got the Celti being in the Southern Alps and around southern France, Italy.
Yeah, it's a Rhone area, isn't it? Yeah.
And that they basically goes on to say that they loved the taste of wine and they wanted to go somewhere where they could grow grapes and all that kind of stuff.
They do get a bit colourful, some of these older books, don't they? Which I quite like. But
brought such brute, judging all other countries in respect of that to be but wild and barren. Because the wine they found so good and were so delighted in it that they suddenly armed themselves and taking their wives and children, they went directly towards the Alps.
And so we're off.
A country that brought forth such fruit.
Lovely, I like it.
It puts them in that portion of Europe.
Just one endless rugby tour then.
Yeah.
It's gone on. Dude, this wine is good. I mean, it sounds a bit strange, that story, but the point of the story is we know they are recorded, these people, and where they went is recorded. And you shouldn't suddenly say it's somewhere else, because the number of people say to me, oh, well, we got used to using the word Celtic now. It's like, well, so what, you know?
Yeah.
You know, there's plenty of racial terms that are being used are no longer acceptable through correction. You know, we have First Nation Indians in... got it wrong now. First Nation Americans. You know, Freudian slip there, isn't it? Things like that.
Yeah.
The previous name was a mistake. Columbus thought he'd reached, the West Indies, as it's called. Thought he was in India, all this kind of thing. So you have to try and correct it. Maybe use the names like Cherokee and Navajo and different peoples.
Yeah. Well, I've got a book here as well. We were talking about German and the Vandals.
Oh, yes, go on, yeah.
The story of King Arthur.
And other Celtic heroes.
And other Celtic heroes.
Yeah.
By Padraig Colum.
Padraig Colum.
He's an Irish writer, and he's this book has gone into the Welsh Mabinogi tales, and he's retold them in this book.
Okay.
But he does talk about, when we spoke about German, this possibly Vandal king.
Yeah, I'm
you
trying
have
to
a very, very similar name.
Gunrick. Yeah, I did know. Well.
But you have a very similar name in this book as well, with G-U-R as the start of the name, but it's more Irish sounding.
Right. So
there's lots to consider.
Yeah, I think it's in the Glamorgan and Gwent book a second, isn't it? Let me just carry on a second.
Yeah, it's actually in the. I think it's in the Holy Kingdom as well.
Ah, yes, it will be. Hang on.
I'm just flicking through that one.
My wonderful sword. I'll be showing off on Sunday. I got Holy Kingdom here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the list of the names. Anyway, the point's the same, isn't it? So, oh no, that's the Welsh kings there. Because the other, hang on, let's find it. This one's easier. It's what was I going to say then? Yeah, because of course the Mabinogi stories get confused. Then we have this idea of there being. People say, "Oh, they're such ridiculous stories; they can't be historical." Of course, some of them aren't. That's the whole point with the Mabinogi. They're allegorical, aren't they? They are. A lot of them are astrological. You've got foundation stories. You've got how the world started. All these kind of things are in there. How the planets work. How the star maps work. Right. Got the story of Gundrum in here. I found him. Guthrum. Sorry. Hang on. We're both looking at books. This must be great viewing. This must be
viewing.
Great viewing. See the tops of two heads here, looking for the names. Oh man, there we are. I wouldn't expect to go there. That's the thing with our chats. We never know. Here we go. Coming of the Kings of Africa, as he calls it here.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a list of names. I thought there was in this book. So he talks about the invasion of the pigs. Tell you what, while you're looking for that, I'll just read a little bit of this. As Alan Barham had suggested, I read the Mabinogi story, Culhwch and Olwen. So that's the story you're looking for, Culhwch and Olwen. The tale concerned the hunt for a ferocious wild boar called Twrch Trwyth. This was a fairy tale with hidden meaning, and that's what people have to realise, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the hidden meanings. For in reality, Twrch Trwyth was a king, but because of his sins, God turned him into a pig. But King Arthur's task, really one of a series of impossible labours set for his kinsman Culhwch by the giant father of the latter's would-be bride Albain, was to obtain a comb and shears that lay between the ears of the boar. So he says this wasn't going to be easy, and the thing was very scary and all this kind of stuff. He went to Ireland, fell behind him. So you have there, oh, there we go. A well-known example of such a boar helmet is the Benty Grange helmet, which is dated to the, oh, I missed that last time.
Oh, I found it on here, in this book as well.
Go on, you read that a second. What I'm trying to do, while people are enthralled by you reading that, and let's see if I can find a picture of that helmet, all right?
Okay. Through his connections with Brychan, therefore, Arthur II had family business in Ireland, and would not have been prepared to allow the Vandals to take over without a fight. Accordingly, he assembled his fleet and sailed over the Irish Sea to confront Gormund. However, no sooner had he arrived than the Vandals climbed back into their ships and set sail for Wales, landing at Milford Haven on the coast of Pembroke. Arthur II had to follow them, and it was then that the pursuit described in the Mabinogi story, as of the hog and his 9 piglets, took place right across Wales to the banks of the River Severn. Eventually, the Vandals crossed over into England to settle in the East Midlands area.
Right.
And according to the Bruts, once he had pillaged Britain, Gormund handed England to the Saxons, for it was they who had invited him over in the first place. And it's from this time that the name Lloegr for this part of the island was changed to England. So it seems to be around this Mercian time, this coming of the Vandal menace into central Britain, where
the name England comes in as well.
Or where the strength, what would become the strength of the new England would be, not just the West Saxons or the Angles, but the fact you've got Mercians as well.
Yeah, but it's got to be, these books, you have to read them a few times, because I'd missed the significance there. The way you read it then, listening to you read it, implied the name England came into being as well, doesn't it?
That's what he's saying, that probably because the British kings then had sort of, by this point, had been significantly weakened and they'd retreated back towards Wales. So after this point, you don't have British kings in England.
But the name as well, isn't it? This is the thing I'm picking up on, the fact that we got a lot of discussion with Wilson and Blackett saying that goes back to Isinglass or Ickinglass.
I've read that. I have read that as well, that Isinglass is mentioned around this time, where they talk of the language in what is now England being that the Isinglass. So what is Isinglass? Is it the Iceni?
Well, yeah, I think because one of the things I've reached out to a few people who live in Yorkshire area and south of there, where the ancient kingdom of Elmet, E-L-M-E-T, people in that area, you need to start doing research, finding out. We've got Jonathan Booker. I'm going to keep hounding him until I get him on for a live show. I bet he watches. Are you there, Jonathan? Are you watching? I've met Jonathan. He's a cracking bloke, really nice guy. And he's led tours around Elmet, talking about it and everything. He's very keen. He's just been very busy in that. But now we've got no excuse. You see, we can do this on Skype now or Zoom or whatever it is. And then we can do it. Look at Rob, did a fantastic job, look.
But look, like you say, it's good to have boots on the ground in England, in the north of England, Elmet and Reged, and even right over on the East Anglia with Marshall, Gog Hills. You've gone off a minute.
Good point. Yeah, I mean, England's bigger than Wales at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of.
I'm trying to see if I can. I'm now failing to screen share. I might have to ask Rob how to do it now.
I've just got a black screen. I have.
Yeah, no, it'll come up. It'll come up. Hang on. You should see this in a second, Rob. I'm looking over there, but there's a lag of a few seconds. But hopefully you're going to see that helmet we mentioned, all right?
Oh, all right, yeah.
Chris Wood came from Halifax. Hey up. No, it's not on screen, is it? All I can see is you again. So it's me laughing at you for your... it says I'm sharing. Oh, I know what I've got to do. I've done the same mistake that I laughed at you for doing. I've now got to share the page. There we go.
Oh, right.
Look at that.
The Betty Grange helmet.
There we go. On the top of it, there's a boar. Look, there's the piggy.
Yeah.
So that would make sense if it fits in with the story, doesn't it? If this is the pig.
Yeah.
And that'll be.
And was this? Where were these dug up?
Well, that was interesting. Good question, because I think it said it was. I just read it a second ago. Peak District. I'm pretty sure it said Peak District. Yeah, it was Peak District. It was. I don't want to go back because I just suddenly noticed that there's. So it's the curious thing there. These are most of the. I don't want to stick my neck out here because I might not be technically correct. But I think you'll find these are part of what's called Vendale helmets, which is part of the identification of the one you can see there, the Anglo-Saxon one. Of course, that's Sutton Hoo.
Sutton Hoo.
The Staffordshire one, you see. Now, this, to my mind, since we got onto this subject, Staffordshire is a lot nearer to what would have been Elmet, I'd have thought.
Yes, definitely.
So the helmet could be from Elmet, the helmet. Tell you what, Boys Devi's got no chance of saying the helmet. So if someone from that, mind you, someone from Yorkshire's not much better, are they?
Well, just looking at those styles of helmets there, they seem to have a sort of slightly Roman influence on it as well, with the the.
But as I say British to people, I mean, the head shape's a head shape, isn't it? There's only so much you can,
Yeah.
The helmets aren't going to change that dramatically, are they? But this seems to be distinctive. Is the big nose piece? I think is the big king. Yeah. And the kind of shape of the eyes, and then a bit of a flap over the back of the neck. And I agree with you, it does look a bit Roman, but that's the imagery being fed of Romans, isn't it? I was also the one in the middle of the screen. I think you can see my mouse moving around. Hang on, just click on that one. The one with the lady holding it. I mean, that looks very kind of Greek in a way, doesn't it, to me?
It does. It's kind of like say, Greek or Spartan style helmet. So
yes.
Is that a Cymerian style helmet,
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of, because I think if we can track down the...
And it's in Britain?
Yes. Well, most of these helmets are in Britain. This is the crazy thing. This is what Bob Morgan's great at researching. He's finding out where were all the other examples, and why are they called Swedish, and why are they called whatever it is, why aren't they called after the other places they've been found?
Yeah.
Because, of course... Now, the other thing I want to point out here, I don't know this helmet specifically, but I would imagine all that detail you see on there, a lot of that would have been added later. One of the great things, without spoiling too much of Bob Morgan's thunder, is when you see what I've got, I put up a very useful comparison. The one on the left, of the bigger pictures on the right hand of the screen. So there'll be a slight lag, I think, before you see this, Rob. But on the one on the right is the very famous Sutton Hoo helmet.
Sutton Hoo.
Yeah, it's above your... Why isn't this changed? God, it's taking ages. The lag's enormous. Sorry, Rob, just hang on a second. Maybe the Sutton Hoo's one's there, with his little moustache and everything. Yeah. And what I would ask people to do, we will be doing a series on this. If you go and have a look, what throws people, that beautiful, amazing, stunning helmet with all the detailing and the patterns and all that kind of stuff, all that's a reconstruction. It's not on the original. And it's the tail wagging the dog. They've got the guy's been to Sweden. You see what the helmets look like. And then he's told a craftsman to make the reconstruction look like the Swedish helmets. It's ridiculous. These patterns aren't on the originals. If you go back to what we're just looking at now, there's the Staffordshire Horde one there as well, which looks very similar. And the Staffordshire Horde's a lot nearer to where Elmet would have been. And the dates are all off. Oh, it's a huge thing. But if we go back to when I was just looking at this, the previous one, Staffordshire helmet, sorry, what was it, Belmet, whatever it was called? The original did come up. Hang on. Here we go. Be a slight lag, but the Benny Grant, you have a shock when you see the state of these things when they find them.
Yeah.
Hang on, here it comes. God, you're gonna go through another 3 pages. But anyway, see if you can spot if this one still looks similar to the Sutton Hoo helmet or something. There's going to be 5 more seconds. Stay with us, Rob.
It's all right. The construction seems different.
Here we go. Look at that. It looks like that when they find them, or in pieces or something. And then the ones you see have got all that detailing and fine filigree work and all those kind of Saxon motifs. That's not what they look like when they find them. They're reconstructions.
It's just rusty pieces which they clean up, and then the rest of it has to be imagined in a way, doesn't it?
Imagined, good word. Completely imagined. And that's the situation with... Hang on. Oh, you've got the four Anglo-Saxon helmets. What a great caption that is. You see the one on the bottom left there. Hang on, let's move Rob over here a bit. Oh, you right, Rob? I didn't hear you when I moved you then. You survived that, yeah. So if you look at these, that's a nice little comparison, those four.
Yeah. And
the Sutton Hoo's in the bottom left. See, it doesn't look anything like... They've only got scraps of iron.
Yeah.
You look at the reconstruction, it's like, wow, isn't it amazing? Funny enough, the only bit you can see very clearly is the moustache, which I quite like. Because Rob's gone a bit Anglo-Saxon on me, but, generally, beards were more of a Germanic thing, weren't they?
Yeah, but like you say, they're famous for their beards, weren't they?
Yes.
And the British were famously...
and the four helmets are only kind of vaguely familiar in a way, really.
Mm. But anyway, and you associate that sort of this style conical helmet with the Saxons, all mainly without face guards and a neck guard. So that would be, and you've got these two examples there, which are more on the head with the boar on top.
Yes.
And then you've got more British style helmets, which you showed earlier, which are more akin to the Middle East,
more Roman style, yeah.
To Greece and the Near East. So
I have to say, the more I look at, I haven't looked at this Benty Grange much before, but the more you look at it, I think it's the top right one. It does have that kind of Vandal look to it. Hang on, I was going to bring it up.
Yeah. Now that to me doesn't look like a British helmet there. That's more.
That would fit in with a Vandal story, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I would associate that with Vandals and Saxons and Angles.
Yes.
Rather than the full face guarded neck piece.
And I wouldn't let the things like the cross on the front of it distract and everything, because as you just saw, it didn't look a lot like that when they find the thing. You're really careful. You can spend a lot of time looking at replicas and get completely misled. I mean, that's what they found. Not that beautiful thing with a nice little tuft on the top and everything we just saw.
Yeah.
Sorry, also on the old picture. If you look, you'll see it. They're very misleading, these replicas, or not even replicas, reconstructions. I like your word, imaginings.
Imaginings.
You're miles behind on the lag.
They have to reimagine it to create.
There you go.
And
see, that doesn't look anything like what they've reimagined.
As you say, we can rebuild it in a Germanic style, or you can rebuild it in a British style by putting all the flaps on and the plumes of feathers or whatever on top. But we know from the histories that the British, that was their trick. The Pendragon helmet had the plume of red.
That's true.
Top.
And also that boar would fit in maybe with a Vandal thing, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Interesting. There we go. All right, I'm going to have to start wrapping this up in a minute, unfortunately. I'm going to have to get this back to...
That's to say.
That's it now.
I'm unprepared and you've surprised me.
Yeah, it's good. You rang me up about something I didn't know what you rang me up for. But you mentioned the books. I said, oh, great, we'll put on a video. Do you want to... You've already done the one next to it. Anyway, there we are. It's good stuff. So I think with... people, maybe our wives even, just wonder what we spend our time doing. We're chatting away for hours.
We should be walking up mountains, shouldn't we?
We should be walking up mountains, yeah. I mean, it's like... what I'd like encourage people to do is talk to each other a lot as well. And also, I'm really, really thankful to Rob, in seriousness, to agree to come online. It's not as bad, is it, once you get going?
No, it's all right once you get going.
Yeah, you forget there's millions and millions of people watching, you know? I think maybe 30 something.
Say that.
And then it's something on the record then, isn't it? And we can... we'll see if people pick up on this. They do look like Spartans. Maybe I'm going to say we got some more comments here. The Parthians were fully armoured. What were their helmets like? Well, the funny thing is with the Parthians, because they're kind of famous for their fully armoured horses as well, aren't they? And that would be the best thing. I reckon if we could
I don't know much about the Parthians, I'll be honest.
Well, they're famous for their Parthian shot, aren't they? Like horse archers are shooting over the thing. But they had heavy cavalry as well. They were a cavalry army, weren't they?
Yeah.
I think they had ranger helmets. See, the reason I know quite a bit of helmets and all that is my previous incarnation. I used to paint military uniforms and toy soldiers and illustrating things. So I spent a lot of time looking at different uniforms. The one I would most suggest, if you're going to do a search, I should do this. Come on, let's just do it quickly before I go. Or I get in too much trouble for my dinner going cold. Is
mine.
We haven't got these, and yours, yeah. We haven't got the 3.6 billion. Let's look at Byzantine. What do I call it? Byzantine army. That'll do.
Byzantine helmet.
Yeah, well, I would say if you look at what the British would look like, I think Byzantines.
Yeah.
Not Byzantines.
No,
they're late Byzant. They're more late, but yeah.
What you're showing there, the fish scale armour and that Byzantine.
Yes.
A bronze armour kind of look.
That's a bit later, that one, but yeah, I think. Oh, this one, yeah. I think that's more the British would have looked like.
That's it. Yeah. You're going to get the red cloaks, the.
Oh, you are seeing things straight away. Sorry, it's everyone else has got a delay. It's okay. It's fine. It's cool. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. So carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, just as you're saying, yeah, it would have been slightly, like I say, Romanesque because obviously we'd been, Rome had been here. We've been or Mediterranean generally, Cymerian armor. This fish scale style, to me, is the style of what these Britons would have looked like.
Yeah. There you go. There's a picture I like. I think that would have been the British would have been more like that, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
What's that?
Got a crisis. Andy's got, I think, some hot soup's tipped on someone. Okay, I'm going to have to call it to an end rather abruptly here. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Is everything okay, Ange? Oh, he's going to come on. I think we got someone's had tipped some soup. Oh. Right, okay. I better go. But so it's a sudden ending. Thank you very much, everyone else, for joining us. I'm going to have to go. Oops. And I think everything's all right, actually. He's calmed down. But
So I just burnt himself.
that's it. Right, okay. He's all right. Oh, he's all right, is he? Okay. Thank you for letting me know. It's okay. Bit dramatic. I get a bit of a shock. He just tipped some soup on himself. It'd be okay.
It's not you frying over spilled soup.
No, but unless it lands on you and it's really hot, then you do want to cry over it. So there you go. There's the sort of thing. All right, I'm going to have to go now, I think, before I have a riot on my hands. But that's what I'd imagine.
I think you hit the nail on the head there with a Byzantine style armour. I think that would be the more the British style.
I think this picture on the screen now, I think that's very much like it. And it would fit in then with Constantine going over to Byzantine and renaming the place Constantinople and all that kind of thing and his British connections. So there we go. Right, I'm now going to try and work out. Thank you very much, Rob.
That's all right.
And I appreciate you doing this. It's great. It's good for people to see that there are more people, will know far more about certain areas than I do.
And I'm looking forward to reading their books when they arrive. We've had to send to Guian books.
Yeah. My collection of Guian books is getting quite large now. It's something crazy in the world. We have to go all the way to India to get a book, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, what can
they should be in the library. Why are they not in the libraries?
Yeah.
This is the question, isn't it?
Even if they want to say it's a load of rubbish, they should still be there, shouldn't they? It's just
It should be there for people to make their own mind up, surely.
Yeah, of course they should, isn't it? Of course they should. All right, well, I'm going to have to go now, as you just heard.
Okay.
Thank you very much indeed. And I want other people to get in touch. We're going to have, let's say, Sunday evening, 8 o'clock. We got some exciting things. Could be 2 interviews on there, because Marcell's done some new work to show us. Bob Evans has got some amazing new things to show. And then next week, we're going to start a series of videos about Sutton Hoo. And the Staffordshire Horde might come into it. And that's with Bob Morgan. He's done some great research. And there's loads going on. And thank you very much to Lego. And hopefully we can get up a mountain soon.
Yeah. And I was going to say, Bob is very persistent. He's very... he will get to the archaeology, the reports, everything.
That's what I've discovered. You're absolutely right, because we come at it from different directions, because that was a bit of my pet subject, Sutton Hoo. And what I tend to do is, a bit like we've done here, is look at the objects and work backwards a little bit. And what Bob has done is he gets all the records, all the original archaeological reports, the surveys, because he's a professional surveyor, so it actually makes sense to him. He goes through all that. the reports, the books that were written on it throughout time. So we sort of meet in the middle and can show, I think, quite comprehensively that it's very unlikely to be Anglo-Saxon. Or certainly the point has not been proven. Let's be generous.
Well, like you say, it's just a level playing field, isn't it? As long as it could be this, it could be that, rather than just saying it is this.
Well, it'd be nice if they just walked in and it was pretended it was a completely fresh site and said, okay, this is what we found, what makes most sense, rather than we found an Anglo-Saxon site, how are we going to prove it?
If the British have been here for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, there must be stuff that is British.
You'd think so, wouldn't you? You'd think so.
All
right, everyone. So I shall see you on Sunday evening, 8 o'clock. Thank you very much, Rob. And
thank you.
Until next time.
Thank you for having me.
Was it heddwch? No, thank you very much. Yes, I hope it encourages more people. Heddwch to my dragon now, my Arwen. All right. Hwyl fawr.
Hwyl fawr.